Hey, 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 Tim the Two Man. I am back again for another episode of Tim the Two Man. Today we're going to be covering door stops. Pretty basic, pretty simple. Want to go over some pros and cons of some of my favorite ones that I use regularly. The first thing I want to go over with you is interior doors is what I'm going to cover most. On an interior door, the thickness of the wood that's around the door is only 3/4 of an inch. And I'll give you a better illustration of that. They have 2 blocks of wood on the door for the doorknobs, and then they have cardboard paper inside just to keep the door from pushing in. But the spaces that surround the door, everything's glued nice and tight, is only 3/4 of an inch. So the reason why I'm showing you that, because normally when you place your door stop on the door, and if you're above this area, a lot of times over constant use, you will put a hole in the door at the very bottom because that space is only 3/4 of an inch. So just to get started and get a better illustration of that, to better show you what the thickness of 3/4 of an inch is, that's 3/4 of an inch. It's not that thick. And that's at the bottom of the door. So anything above that is going to hit above that and make a hole in the door. So that's not too thick. So you gotta be careful where you place the door stop on the door. So first thing I'm gonna go over is a couple of door stops that's normally placed on doors. This is normally placed on, I see this all the time in the movie theater. They throw it up as a kick down, a door stop, drop it down and hold the door up when you come out the movie theater. That's what I see it at most. Most of the time I don't see this on residential homes, but if you want to use it there, you can. The other door stop is just a wedge door stop. Sit it by the door, door comes in and stops right there. And it's called a wedge door stop. The other one is a door stop that actually mounts to the ground, and it has an adjustment on it where you can use the adjustment or just use it by itself. And it's made so the door would actually hit against that little rubber stop there. A lot of times I use this like on a concrete floor, or a place where the door is hitting against the floor, and I want to stop it right before it hits the floor and mess up the rubber at the bottom of the door. So this is used a little bit in residential. The next one I'm gonna go to is the ones that you mount to the baseboard. And this little teeny thing here is probably the cheapest one you can get a hold of, maybe like $1.25. And what you do is if you want to make a little pilot hole, of course you get the right tool and a little nail, tap a little hole in the baseboard, and then you basically just screw this into that little pilot hole. And then it has a square hex head right here where you can put a little wrench on it, tighten it up. Now most of the time I see this one here, it's broke off. This piece here is broke off and the other piece is laying around somewhere. $1.25, you get what you pay for. The next one is a spring type. This one works pretty good if you have an area where you have a lot of traffic going by. No one actually can mess this up or hurt themselves or kick it out. It just springs loaded, and they have 2 different sizes. There's a little bit heavier spring, a little bit more force on this one here. This one just screws in. This one has a little plate. This one has a little plate that comes off. You screw the plate onto the baseboard, then you screw this right into the plate. Alright. The next one is a heavier duty one that goes onto the baseboard. Now keep in mind, all these door stops comes in different finishes. You can get it from white, black, brass, whatever finish you like, nickel finish, whatever decor that you have on your normal locks. This one works the same way, it's a solid one. You make a little pilot hole and then you basically screw it in. You can also, it has a hex design on it where you can put a pair of pliers on it and turn it to put it in also. Now my favorite is this baby right here. I fell in love with her about 2 years ago. It's a magnetized door stop. And it's also spring loaded. Now the reason why I fell in love with this one, you have some doors that you sit there and you open them all the way and they go ee. They close back slowly but surely. This baby here will keep it open. I mean, they make a couple different versions of this model. One's a clip and the other one's a magnetized. And this is all simple and easy as well. You unscrew this part, screw that into the baseboard, then screw this back in. Then you line up the door where you want it at and draw a circle around this part here. Then you unscrew this part that's spring loaded, and you mount this on the door, hopefully in the solid part, and you just screw that back on again. And as you open and close the door, that magnet is pretty strong. It'll hold it on there. But this is my favorite one. I've used this one probably about 80% of the time. Depends on the situation. That's the one I would use. Now, one that was real popular in the day was the hinge type. So you get a little nail. You get a little nail and a hammer, and then you tap underneath the bottom of the pin and knock that pin out. Once you get the pin out, you get your hinge mount doorstop. And it was real popular at one time. It was probably the one that everybody used the most. And once you slide that back in the pin, you just push that down. And you have a couple of adjustments. You have adjustment on here that you screw, and then you close the door and see if the door actually hits there and stops where you want to stop before it hits the wall. But the same thing with this one here. When you get up to the very top of the door, you pass that 3/4 inch space. This makes a hole in the door. So, but a lot of people was putting this on at one time. So they decided to come up with another particular style and model that has a flat end on it. So they figure they would use the flat end because it won't make a hole in the door anymore. And in some cases that is true. So you put that on the hinge itself again, and you adjust this part here, the flat part, against the door, and this one here goes against the trim. This piece here goes against the trim. So as they open and close the door, there's less chances for this flat piece to hit the door. But eventually, that's what I'm telling you, eventually it still will make a hole in the door, especially depends on how much force you put on the door. Ones that became popular now is a flat door stop with adhesive on the back. You peel back the adhesive and you just stick it to the wall. Plow! Right on the wall. And that works good as long as you do it before the hole is in the wall. In a lot of cases, most people don't do it. So what they do is they go get the big boy or the little boy, which is the same thing, and they would take this big boy over the doorknob hole, as they show in this illustration here. I don't know if you can see it that good, but there's a hole there in the wall. And what they did is they take this little plate here and slap it over the hole, and it works. It hides the hole, and it also protects the door. It works, as well as the smaller one. They both work, as well as the square one that I showed you earlier. All it is adhesive, peel adhesive, pap, they're done. No work, no mess. Everybody loves the easy thing. So not only are we going to go into the ones that you mount directly behind the doorknob, like these three, but they're a different style. One of the ones I tend to use a lot is this is kind of white, but it's a rubber one. Got some softness to it, and it will protect the knob. You can peel this back, and if you have wood back there, put a screw in it, and it'll hold the wood, then you put this piece back on together again. If you don't have any wood back there as a reinforcement, just peel the rubber back. Peel the adhesive back, plop it on the door, and this is a nice soft rubber one. I normally use this one when I have two doors that are sitting against each other, and I'll put this one on there, just put the adhesive right on there, and you're good to go. Now keep in mind that if you have new construction and you're having somebody build a house for you, tell them that you want backing behind every doorknob that swings. Any door that swings, you want a backing of wood right behind it where the doorknob goes. And you can also, it's easier to put a wall-mounted door stop that'll be there longer, and it'll be a lot more durable as it relates to not having it wood back there and the doorknob putting a hole in there. Even if you didn't put a doorknob back there and they just had the wood backing back there, the doorknob's going to hit that drywall, and all it's going to do is make a little hole in the drywall where the knob is, and you can spackle right over that when you realize that you need to put a door stop on here. Another adhesive door stop is this one here. It has like a little hole in the center of this here. So the knob's supposed to hit the center of this hole, and the turn and lock part hits in the center of this part of the knob, and then the rest of the knob hit against this. This is adhesive one also, has a little hole for a screw as well, And like I said, I like to have a backing back there and put the screw in most of the doorknob, ones that hit on the doorknob. Now, one of my favorite ones also that I used to use a lot, but I don't do much anymore, is this one here. And I always put my wood back there, and it's a soft one. Now, the reason why I keep saying soft, because if you put a hard doorknob, which I'm going to show you one that is hard, if the knob hit against that on a regular basis, the knob can break, and the knob will malfunction on you because it's hitting against something solid. It might as well be a brick wall back there where you open and close in it and put the knob. The knob is actually hitting against the wall instead of the bumper here. So if it's real hard, then it's the same purpose if you had a brick wall there. So you want something with some cushion on it where it's going to cushion the blow of the door closing against the wall as well as protect the knob. Now, last but not least is this one here. This is one where you want the knob to hit in the center if it's a passage knob or an entry knob, and it has a little turn on it. That hits in between there. But this knob is hard as I don't know what. And as you open and close the door and slam it on here, that might make your knob mess up or malfunction. So if you have any questions on knobs, door stops, hit me up. I'm going to cover a little bit more things as it relates to interior doors, how to install them in more detail. But for now, I just want to say that if you have any questions, hit me up. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe so you can see what's going on a regular basis, because I got a lot of things to be tossing at you and come back with you some more stuff. Like it, comment, share it with your friends. And as always, you have a good one, and I'll see you on the other side.